live. It looks like it's going.
All right.
We good?
I think so. I think it really is. Okay. So let me just make sure one time I will click in on the live page. Sorry.
Oh, it's
Check, check, check.
Okay. Yes, I think it's working, people.
Hold on one
Bobby.
second.
I see you.
All right, hold on. Someone's typing.
Love it. I don't see myself, and that's pretty great. So I'm out. I'm going to give you the hosting privileges. We got to figure out a better way.
All right, so they should be able to hear us right now.
Yes, they can hear us right now. They can hear us right. I see you.
All right.
Hold on. Oh, okay. George just said, he said, I do hear. So I'm assuming he hears us.
Okay.
Georgie, you hear us coming in hot? We coming in hot here, Doug? Someone just say, coming in hot. Give me something so we can start this bad boy up. He said, nope, still seeing Roto Imbeciles.
You
might
got to
have to
click. Yeah, he's got to click the
Refresh.
other. No, but not the one on the left. The one on the right, like the kind of look like the YouTube one. That's the one that we're on.
Oh, the amazing said he heard. And George said you guys have never sounded better. All right, we're good.
All
I
right.
think we're good. All right, Andrea, we're good. Thank you. All right, she's out already.
All right.
All right, guys, here we are. Fantasy fam, back in the mix. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. BK, Paulie Boy, say hello.
What's up, guys?
All right. First off, here we are in the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. Excited to be here. Thanks, as always, to the legend himself and the
Yes,
lady.
sir.
The lady continues to get us set up and figure out all the details, so on and so forth. We thank you so much, guys. Everybody, Georgie, great show before us. You had the two Kleinau boys on, even though you tried to recruit my nephew for a hot second. I wasn't sure. I was getting a little sensitive, but Paulie seemed to be on board about it.
He doesn't need to recruit. I'm all his.
Why
That's
don't
it.
you love me? Why don't you love me?
I do, but I got a soft spot for George.
I'm for Dougie. He said, hold up 3 fingers, then 5. We're live, Dougie, right? We're live? We good? All right. All right. So listen, last show on Wednesday, we talked a little bit about Andrew, you said, okay, please refresh and push play on video above the chat room. Is that to us or is that to everybody else?
That's to everybody else.
All right. So I'm going to keep going here. It was the anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking into the major leagues. And, all due respect to Jackie. I mean, he deserves it. He's the guy. But, Paulie, what do you know about Larry Doby?
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I know you do. I knew you didn't know anything about Larry Doby because I asked you earlier and you said, I have no idea who that guy is. But Larry Doby doesn't get a lot of street credit here. Larry Doby was the first American League guy, and it wasn't too much after Jackie. And I just got to rattle off some of these stats here. 8 straight years with 20 home runs, mostly with, I believe, Cleveland. A career 283 hitter and drove in 105 times. I mean, legit player, but nobody knows who Larry Doby is unless you're a real student of the game. So, boy, you learned something today. Uncle Bob, I'm just a wealth of knowledge teaching you things.
Learn something new every day.
You are so welcome.
That's my uncle right there.
How do you feel about that?
You're an educator. That's what
there
you
are. Go. Larry Doby is a Jersey guy. Yeah, George, I think Patterson, right? Yeah. He said it. Patterson. Good call, buddy. Good call. So I want to jump in with a little trivia question right out of the gate. All right. So
let's do it.
I wasn't fed this trivia question. I was reading some things. So I kind of made up this trivia question based on what I was reading. So if it gets a little wonky, George, I think this one might be up your alley. So George is having issues in real life.
Get in line, George.
Okay, so ready? Here's the question. I'm going to try to do this clearly. There are 6 teams,
okay,
whose all-time leaders in home runs, hits, and RBIs are the same player. Not the same player on all 6 teams, but these 6 teams have the same leader in home runs, hits, and RBIs. Is that clear?
Oh, okay. So one player for those teams
For those six
is
teams, there's one guy
is
who
do-
leads
is dominant
all,
across the way.
all-time leader. So
Gotcha.
we're gonna keep this rolling. I'm not gonna sit here and wait because it's a long
Yeah.
question. But name the six teams and name the six players that are associated with the teams. I mean, all very, very well-known names, obviously, right? Guys that are synonymous with
I
the
assume
teams.
so.
But just get the think tank going. So home runs, runs, hits, and RBIs. All right.
Wow.
And guys, I want to apologize. If you hear a baby crying in the background, that's my 2-year-old. He's in the back room. He's crying. Mom's at work and she's a nurse. So I'm trying. He'll fall asleep eventually, but just bear with me. All right. So there's the question out there. So Paulie, let's jump into it right now. So I want to ask
Yeah.
you. This is only our second show. I think our audience should know a little bit. Who's your favorite player of all time?
Favorite player of all time, Mike Piazza.
Where's that come from for you? I mean, I could have guessed that. I actually knew that, but
Yeah.
why?
For me, just being a diehard Met fan, and when I first got into the Mets when I was, young, he was the player that I looked up to, and he was when I started playing baseball when I was younger, I wanted to do everything like him. I was a lefty, unfortunately, or else I would have played catcher as well. I always wanted to catch, but I was a lefty. Coaches and stuff wouldn't even think about it. But he was my idol pretty much growing up.
Yeah.
Because I love the
No.
Mets, and he was the best player in the Mets, and he was a hero pretty much. So
And
that was mine.
I know the answer to my follow-up question too, but your favorite live baseball moment, meaning you were there watching it happen. That
Yeah.
game was.
Yeah, I was at the 9/11 game as a kid when he hit that home run with my father, and it's something I don't remember any other real detailed part of that game besides that home run that he hit. I just remember him hitting that home run and everybody just going crazy, and it was like the furthest home run I've ever seen in my life, and just it just took on a whole nother life of its own.
September 21st was the
Because
date.
we had those season tickets.
Yep.
And back in the day, and we were there.
Do you
It was really
remember?
cool.
Here's a trivia question for you, Paulie boy. Who was the pitcher who threw the pitch that Piazza hit?
Oh, I don't know. I know some Braves reliever. I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That was good insight.
No idea. Nobody cares about him.
So his name was last name was Carsey.
Carsey.
And I think he was a New York kid, and he just got traded to Atlanta. And it was like one of his first games over or something like that. And
Yeah.
He was
Well,
excited.
because it was September, so call ups and stuff like that.
Yeah, September 21st. So all right. So my favorite player of all time, because you were going to ask me next, right? Uncle Bob, what's your favorite player of all time?
Uncle Bob, who's your favorite player of all time?
Well, thank you,
Another something that I already know as well.
Thank you. So Lenny Dykstra, by far, was my favorite player of all time. I know I heard Lenny tell stories. I actually have stories too. I have a friend who got to be friends with Lenny Dykstra. I got to hang out with him a couple times over the last few years, which is a story unto itself. I won't go into right now. But Lenny Dykstra, just love the way he played the game. And my favorite all-time moment, it's tied. Being a Met fan, Todd Pratt in the National League, I think it was the National League Division Series against the Diamondbacks, hit that helicopter home run, he spun it around and dead center. Steve Finley jumped up. It was an amazing, amazing moment. Steve Finley jumps up. Shea gets dead quiet because everybody thought he caught it, and he came down, looked at his glove, and then Shea erupted. I've never felt Shea bounce like that.
Yeah.
So that was it, and I happened to be fortunate enough to go to Game 6 and 7 of the 2001 World Series. So obviously Game 7 when Luis Gonzalez muscled that ball over Jeter's head. Those were my two games. But awesome. All right, let's get into some fantasy talk, Paul. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I know there might be some debate here in the chat room and whatnot, but about this. But the consensus top 10 in most fantasy drafts happen to be Trout, Yelich. This is in no particular order. Trout, Yelich, Acuna, Cole, DeGrom, Arenado, Bregman, Betts, Lindor, and Bellinger. You got that? Those are the 10.
Yep.
Consensus top 10. So of those 10, who do you feel might not be first round caliber. Might not be worth a first round pick. Might not have the year in 2020 if we have a season that's going to be worth that pick. Might
That
not be
top
worth
10
100.
pick.
That top 10 pick, that first round pick.
So, right. So out of those 10 guys you just named, this is gonna surprise you, I think,
ahead.
considering the colors that I'm wearing here.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think it's gonna be Jake. I think it's gonna be
Wow.
DeGrom.
I am
think it's
shocked
gonna be
by that.
DeGrom. And it's really not much of a fault of his as much as it is the team. I could see him having a 9-win season this year, the same as he did 2 years ago. It's just you put on those two straight years of a Cy Young year. Is he going to have a third, fourth? I mean, he could be a top 3, top 5 finish without a doubt. But to keep putting on those number 1 Cy Young years, he's due to not get that award. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it will be this year, and he could have that. Even if he had that 9-win season like he did 2 years ago and still won the Cy Young, I don't see him having that 1.6 or 7 ERA that he had to go along with it and everything like that. So if he won 9-10 games this year, he'd probably go along with like a 2.6, 2.7 ERA, something like that, something pretty normal for him. So I wouldn't spend the top 10 pick on a pitcher like that, considering I could, maybe wait another round or two and get something very similar like a Scherzer or, something like that, I would say. Or maybe, Flaherty, Bieber, like that, like, to wait on. I wouldn't the only pitcher that I would jump on is Cole, because I just think that Cole's going to give it his all, to the Yanks within those first few seasons that he has of this contract. DeGrom, I still think is, top 3 pitcher in the league. I just wouldn't spend the top 10 pick on him overall because he's due for some type of regression to the mean.
I literally couldn't disagree more. I mean, the fact that you're going to go with DeGrom over even Cole, who it sounds like you're borderline a Yankee fan. I mean, Cole's changing divisions. He's changing teams. He's leaving Houston, which who knows what they do over there. And you're going to expect the same as opposed to DeGrom, who's everything's the same. Everything's the same. Everything's the same, right? So isn't it easier to predict success?
I gotta ask you, what happened to Jake when Mickey Callaway came over? He turned into a perennial Cy Young 2 years in a row. If Mickey did nothing, he did anything but help Jake turn that corner and become a Cy Young.
He was a rookie of the year. He was very good.
Absolutely. Now
do you think Mickey Callaway was the magic sauce? You think he's gonna forget everything that Mickey's gone?
But I'm just saying within that 1 year, out of those 10 guys that you rattled off, besides Cole, those are 10 bats that I would rather have. I prefer offense. You prefer pitching. I would take those 10 bats who are very consistent.
But you just said I would take DeGrom over Cole, which and all I'm saying is on that alone. On that, I'm so sorry.
I didn't say that.
No,
I didn't say that. I said I would take Cole over DeGrom.
That's what I meant. That you would take Cole over DeGrom.
Yeah.
And I couldn't disagree more. I'm curious. Anybody in the room?
It's because Cole can get 20 wins this year. You think DeGrom's going to get 20 wins this year?
I mean, I'm not looking at wins being the main. Wins is actually so low on my priority list. I'm looking at the other ones.
Not
right?
in fantasy.
ERA,
not in
whip.
Fantasy.
Yeah, bro.
ERA, I could see Cole having a better ERA than DeGrom.
No.
I could see.
Let's move
I could see
on.
him definitely having more strikeouts.
Let's move on.
I'm a Mets fan. I'm trying to keep it real.
I know, but I'm just not bringing you to any games this year. I mean, I might not be going to any games this year. But
I don't think anybody's going to any games this year. So.
But my pick for this, and I'll make this short and sweet since you literally took half an hour to talk about yours, is Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger. I'm not sold on him. I think he's got a long swing. I do. I always thought he had a long swing. I was surprised by his success last year. I got to be honest with you. I really was. And if memory serves right, I think he started to tinker out a little bit at the end of the year. And I don't know. He had a great year. I'm not going to take anything away from the kid. But yeah.
But you're going into this year and you wouldn't take him top 10?
No, I wouldn't. The only thing I like about Cody is that he plays a couple of positions. So that dual eligibility from a fantasy standpoint, I like that.
I don't even think he's going to get the dual eligibility this year.
He's not?
No, he didn't play first at all last year.
Oh, all right, maybe not. Well, there you go. That even cements my position even more. How about that?
And I couldn't disagree more.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, what's interesting is that neither one of us said Bregman. And Bregman, what do you think about it? I mean, do you think Bregman's going to take a hit this year because he doesn't have the benefit of whatever the hell was going on in Houston? Like, do you think that matters really, or do you think he's got enough?
No,
talent?
that kid was a stud coming out of college. He was a stud as soon as he came up. I don't think that made a difference for him at all, for the most part. I mean, I think he could do it on his own, and I don't know what happened there, but I'm sure he'll be locked in and on a mission this year to prove that had no effect on him whatsoever. He's a talented guy, and he's well protected in that lineup to begin with. I could see him having no fall off whatsoever.
All right. There's a part of me right now that wants to dive a little bit into Houston and that whole thing and what your thoughts are, but I'm gonna hold back on that. But what I will talk about is just third base. Like, I've been thinking a lot about like Arenado and Bryant and like these guys that are having some animosity with their teams. And what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that they're gonna stay with the Cubs and the Rockies respectively? And Room, I'm asking you two guys, like, get out there. Paulie, are you seeing anyone writing anything here?
No activity right now.
Zero activity.
It's
I mean,
all right.
I know George puts on a good show, guys, but come on, throw us a bone here, right? Let us know you're alive. Okay, cool. From Vinny, the last thing I say. But anyway,
they were having their own conversation anyway.
They were.
All right.
But let's keep it rolling. So go ahead, Arenado and Bryant. What's your thoughts?
I mean, are you talking about just this year or just in the future? You're saying about them?
I'm saying this year. Like, do you think if the season starts up, do you think they're going to be in their uniforms next year, in the Colorado and Cubs uniform?
I think they'll both start out the season. So now I think that Bryant has more of a chance of getting traded than Arenado this year, and it's for a couple of reasons. Colorado signed Arenado to that huge deal, and then mainly because he was under the impression that, I guess, they told him they were going to be contenders, they were going to sign other guys, things like that. That never happened. That seems like why he's frustrated. That could keep going on, but it's not like they were really ever contenders in the first place. You know what I mean? So he signed kind of knowing that. I feel like maybe they lied to him about something, but I just don't see it with him. I feel like they'll just keep stringing him along. With Bryant though, like you said that he had a service time issue. He was frustrated with that. The Cubs traded away a lot of assets to win that World Series a few years ago.
They did.
Now, if Bryant can still bring back a lot of value to them, and he doesn't really want to be there, and they assess where they are at the deadline, if they're middle of the road or something like that, I could see them dealing him no problem and getting some prospects in return for him, and him going to start at third or left field for another team for a while. Arenado's a little more complicated because he comes with that contract. At least if you go and get a guy like Chris Bryant, he's still going to get that contract, so you can worry about that later on. You don't have to worry about that right away, paying him $30 million out of the gate. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see Bryant being easier to move and more likely to move.
So Vin here in the room says, where do you likely see landing spots? And Vin, I know you got the Amazons. We've talked that with Mets fans. My nephew's a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan. I got to be honest with you. And Paul, you jump in here. I can see Arenado. I hate to say this across the board. I could see Arenado in pinstripes, just like I could see Bryant. I could see Bryant as a Brave. I don't think they're going to be sold on Urshela in the Bronx.
Yeah.
I don't think Camargo and Riley or whoever they stick at third is going to do it in Atlanta. And Atlanta has a way to just get the guys they need to get. And with Donaldson being gone, I see it happening. Paulie, what do you think?
Yep, I see the Braves as a definite landing spot for one of them. The Yankees, I don't at all, actually. And I know Arenado has been linked to them for, since he started this, since this frustration started for him. But the Yankees aren't really that team to go out and just make a huge deal like that lately anymore. You know, they've been in serious problems with their pitching rotation and did not bother to go get that ace. They didn't bother. So what makes them they're gonna go and get a guy like Arenado just because they have plenty of parts to fill that third base spot. So I don't see them going to the Yanks, either of them. If I had to say, besides the Braves, maybe like an NL West team that's trying to fight with the Dodgers. I don't know. I was gonna say, no. I honestly off the top of my head, I don't know.
Bro,
Besides the Braves,
I'm telling you, I think those are the two teams. I mean, I really do. I think that's what's going to happen. Especially as a Mets fan, it's the exact answer that's going to happen, and it's gonna tear our hearts out when both of those things happen. And Vin, what do you think? You know, he says he doesn't think that teams aren't going to give up what the Cubs want, but I mean, not for nothing. I mean, the Braves have prospects. Will they give them up? I mean, if they have a window right now, right? Like Freeman's there. I mean, their window might be early on still, but I mean, who knows?
What about a guy like Arenado maybe going to St. Louis?
Yes,
like that.
St. Louis and Atlanta are the two teams that are always just crafty, right? Like they figure it out, right? They find a way to rip off teams, make trades that benefit them. Like a la when they got Paul Goldschmidt, it was like, how did they get Paul Goldschmidt for not much? Like it just didn't make sense. But those are the kind of trades that those teams make, and it's crazy.
And the NL West team that I was thinking of, by the way, was the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, they spend the most money, and they have Justin Turner there, but they find spots for all their guys because half of their guys are utility guys anyway. They can play any position.
Yeah. Doug brings up a good point too. Even though they weren't willing, the Nats weren't willing to spend on Rendon. Rizzo's crafty too. Rizzo's another guy, another GM who can make things happen. So, all right, let's move on here. So the other thing that's been on my mind a lot recently, because I really take the time typically, and Paulie, I'm going to let you, because you're a young Thundercat and you study young pitching and stuff like this. I'm going to let you talk for a second because I got to go tend to my 2-year-old screaming in the other room for a second. But my question is that the Oakland A's pitching, for some reason in my brain, they gel as like one guy. Maybe because they're all young. I haven't seen a lot of them, but between Manea and Montes and Luzardo and Puck, like I really can't differentiate them. I'm intrigued by them. Like I'm intrigued by all four of them, but I'm curious as to your thoughts on the four of them, and who do you think has the highest ceiling? Who do you think is going to be a performer? Who do you think is going to be just hype? Go ahead, have at it. I'm going to be right back.
Alrighty. So between Manaya, Montes, Luzardo, and Puck, the one that has actually had the best minor league stats has been Luzardo. Luzardo has been filthy in any like level of minors that he's been in. I'm gonna try to pull up the stats real quick right here. He's had his first like short season, he went 2-1, 1.66 ERA. Second season in the minors, 10-5 with 2.8 ERA. Third last year before he got called up, he was 2-1 with a 2.5 ERA. He came up to the minors for a short stint. I think he threw. What did he throw? He threw 12 innings. Through 12 innings, he had a 1.5 ERA. He had 16 strikeouts. So I like Luzardo. Puck on the other hand has not had as a successful minor league career. It's been nowhere near as successful as Luzardo, although he's been touted as one of their top prospects. It just hasn't really come to form. Montes had a great year last year up until he got suspended. He was 9-2 with like a 2.6 ERA, and then goes and gets suspended and just almost ruined the A's season for the most part. Manaya is another big lefty. he had an excellent season last year up until he got hurt. He was 4-0 with a 1.21 ERA. If Manaea comes back and he's healthy, I see him as having the highest ceiling. The only issue here between the four of them is that there's three lefties. There's three lefties due to all this, and I think Puck would probably be the one to go if you had to choose, especially because he's one of the younger guys on this team. Is that Noah? I hear my little cousin. How's he doing?
Boy.
Yeah, how's he doing?
Are we good?
Yeah, so I was saying that between these four guys, right, there's three lefties, and Manaea, Luzardo, and Puck.
Yeah.
Between Luzardo and Puck, the two younger guys, Luzardo's had a very good minor league career. Puck has not had as successful of a minor league career. I could see the A's, if they get to the deadline and they're making a push, they could flip one of these guys for a big bat or even an ace, in a little package or something. If not, I could see them wind up getting rid of Manaea, mainly because his contract will be up at some point within the next couple of years. He'll probably wind up getting paid. I see him having the highest ceiling. Up until he got hurt last year, he was 4-0 with a 1.2 ERA. But, if they get to the deadline at some point either this year or next year, his contract's coming up, they could wind up getting rid of him.
Yeah, Billy Beane.
There's three lefties in this rotation.
Yeah.
If Puck, Luzardo, and Manaea are all in it, there's three lefties. Montes is the only solid righty, and he had a great year last year, but he got suspended, and who knows? Who knows if there's a second one coming?
Andrea likes Luzardo.
I also like Luzardo.
Okay. I know a lot of hype with him, a lot of hype with Puck right now. Not much of a sample size. Pitched a little bit in the bullpen last year, right? Manaea and Montes have a little bit more experience right now. Montes got suspended. Manaea was hurt, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm always up in the air with these four. As I'm heading into drafts or had drafts, I'm always really I don't know what to do with these Oakland pitchers. But thank you for that little bit of insight here. So I'm gonna bring up that trivia question one more time, okay? So that trivia question again was: there are 6 teams whose all-time leaders in home runs, hits, and RBIs are the same player. Now, say it again, Paulie. It's not the same player for all 6. It's those 6 teams. I literally made this trivia question up, so give me a break here. So there's 6 organizations that have a player that is the all-time leader in those 6 statistical categories.
Right. So for one team, there's one player on that team that owns all those categories in
Exactly.
the record book for that team.
Exactly. If anyone wants to take a shot, name an organization and what offensive player you think is their all-time leader in home runs, hits, and RBIs. It's the same guy across the board. I'll give you an example to start us off. The Orioles, Ripken. Ripken leads the Orioles all-time in home runs, hits, and RBIs.
Right.
Got it?
Right. And I'm going to say even the let's say the younger teams, like the newer teams, like maybe like a Rays or something like that. They no.
Nope. Rays actually have Longoria. I'm going off top of my head. Longoria actually leads 3 out of 4. But the Amazons, no. Bonds in San Francisco, because they're such a storied franchise. There's other leaders of those 4. But you're on the right track for 2 of the teams, boy. The newer organizations. There's 2 other ones that are newer. But I'll just let that simmer for a second while we move on. So I want to ask you, what's your approach when you build a fantasy team? Like when you're heading into a draft, and let's say an auction draft, and it's a 5x5. What is typically your strategy around it?
So. Me, I like to go offense. I like to go offense heavy, and worry about my pitching staff as I go along. I like to fill out my outfield first, especially if there's 4 spots. Some leagues go with 4 spots or 5 spots. So I like to go heavy on my bats in the outfield. You know, I'll try to grab an ace if I could. You know, one or two guys, but then the rest of the way with pitching, for the most part, I just go with guys that I feel like are sleepers or due for a good season or things like that. Same thing with closers. Never get a closer until like my last pick, or I just wait to pick them up during the season. Saves are easy to come by. You know, you're not gonna usually draft the Marlins closer or the Orioles closer too often, but those are guys that you know can wind up having a 3.5 ERA or below and wind up having 30 saves in a season. Why are you going to waste the draft pick on that? So I like to go offense heavy. I know you. I think you're the opposite.
No, I mean, I do like my starting pitching. I definitely do. But I mean, even offensively, I tend to like let the outfielders go into the back burner a little bit. I really go more catching, second base, shortstop, call it up the middle, call it what have you, and then maybe one good outfielder. But that's typically the way I look at my roster, right?
Yeah,
George says take catches late. George, I get you, but I
absolutely.
think because there's such a small percentage of elite catchers, I think that's why a guy like a Real Muto and a Grandal have such high value. Like last year, the league that Paulie and I were in, I got Grandal at a really cheap rate, and I was really happy about it because I
Right.
saw him as the top 2 or 3 catcher, and then you don't have to worry about it, barring injury. So, it's a very thin position. I mean, you can get a Will Smith or a Mitch Garver a little bit later on, but like by and large, those elite guys, especially Real Muto, who hits 280 and is going to hit you decent power, drive in decent runs, plays in a good lineup. I'd like to have a guy like that just kind of be a stalwart.
It's good. It's good to get catcher out of the way.
Yeah.
It is, but I also see what George is saying just about waiting on them, because it's also a position that there might be 3 teams in your league that have really good catchers, and then the rest of the league is just the same as you. So it doesn't matter if you waited on them or not. You know what I mean? But it is nice to have that advantage, I guess, if you don't want to wait.
Yeah.
At
George
catcher,
likes
and
George likes Grandal more than he likes Real Muto.
he's got the pop. Grandal's got the power.
And he qualifies at first too, I think now too.
They said he's going to play some
Or he's
first base
going
this year,
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
they have James McCann behind him, so
Right.
they could get they could DH Abreu or give Abreu a day off or whatever. I know that they have Edwin, but
Yeah.
wind up moving Grandal to first and starting McCann on
Yeah.
some days.
I just want you guys to know that this is very dangerous that Paulie Boy and I are doing this podcast together, because we still haven't drafted for our league this year. So we're kind of like giving our little preferences here. So Paulie, I'm trusting you're going to operate with integrity and honor, and not try to screw Uncle Bob, your beloved uncle, during the draft.
No
That'll be
promises.
great.
No promises.
All right, since I'm not getting a lot of guesses on the trivia question, I'm gonna divulge them quickly. So the question was,
Give us a few.
there were 6 teams whose all-time leaders in home runs, hits, and RBIs are all the same player. What teams are they, and what are the players? So I gave you that for the Orioles. It's Ripken. Ripken leads the Orioles all time in home runs, hits, and RBIs. What other 5 organizations have one player who leads in those 4 statistical categories? Again, I made that trivia question up. That's probably why it's a little confusing, but I thought it was interesting.
Good question, though.
So Be Amazing is asking, okay, so what was it again? So it was home runs, hits, and RBIs. Home runs, hits, and RBIs. So those 4 offensive categories, it's the same player. Todd Helton, yes.
Yep.
Good job, buddy. Good job. There's 2 out of the 6. George Brett, Royals. That makes sense. You would get George Brett. Killing it. Stan Musial, killing it.
That's 4.
Georgie.
Doug said Ryan Zimmerman.
No,
with the Nats.
Zimmerman is not, because remember too, it goes back to Montreal a little bit as well.
Right. And what about Goldschmidt?
Nope, not Goldschmidt. So
those are 2 good guesses right there.
So far, I said Ripken, I said Brett, and with Kansas City, we said Musial, we said Helton. There's 2 left. Anyone want to take a shot? I'm gonna give them up pretty quick.
No.
One's understandable, right? So the Braves, a guy named Henry Aaron.
Yes,
You ever
I've
hear of
heard of him.
Henry Aaron, Paulie?
I've heard of him. Yes,
Yeah, you're
he's
like 13 years old. Have you heard of him?
he had a
Quite a
few
ball
home
player.
runs.
Yeah,
Few home runs.
755 to be exact.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
But
of him.
yeah, so Henry leads in all those categories. The other one was nope, it's not Schmidt. It's not Schmidt. Good guess though, Royals. Good guess. The other one is the Diamondbacks. You want to take a shot? I gave you the team. What one player leads in all four categories: home runs, runs, hits, and RBIs?
Matt Williams.
No. Matt Williams would be. He did more of his heyday during his Giants years.
Giants, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Luis Gonzalez.
George was about to say Hank. Yes, Luis Gonzalez
Yeah.
leads in all four. I mean, I was surprised to hear that. You don't think of him as an elite player. He had that 2001 year where he hit 57 home runs and just crushed it. But I guess because they're so young, that kind of makes sense.
So who were the
So-
6 again? So it was say 'em back.
Orioles are Ripken, Royals are
Mhm.
Brett, Braves are Aaron, Cardinals are Musial, Diamondbacks are Luis Gonzalez, and Rockies is Helton.
Wow.
Doug, you got it.
That's
Luis.
a great stat. It's a great stat.
Really, really interesting. But all right, let's go into this next segment we call Stardom or Just Dumb. Stardom or Just Dumb. Uncle Bob's getting
Stardom.
punny. I'm getting punny, Paulie.
You are so punny.
So punny. So on Wednesday we did pitchers that for Stardom or Just Dumb, and now we're gonna move into hitters. So what I just want to know is, do you think that these guys to draft are future stars and are gonna fill out their expectations, or are they just dumb picks across the board? All right,
Mm-hmm.
here we go.
Let's do it.
Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Lourdes. I think he's bound for stardom. Stardom, not stardom.
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 And, Yeah, but the catch here is that I think at some point he was normally an infielder. I think is how he came up, but I think Bichette has that shortstop spot on lock.
Yeah.
I don't really see him as a third baseman, but I think he could be a decent left fielder.
I think that's where they're gonna put him this year, and they say he's athletic enough to stick.
Right, but I don't know if he's gonna wind up sticking with the Blue Jays or whatnot. But I think he's gonna be a good player for a while.
I mean, I'm
good middle of the lineup guy.
I'm with you on that. Like I think Lourdes is gonna be a star. I mean, Toronto gets a lot of hype right now. Hi Noah, my son's over here hanging out. Toronto gets a lot of hype right now because they got all these young kids. They got Biggio, they got Vlad, they got Bichette, right?
Yeah.
I think Gurriel is like
kind of slept on.
And Lenny loves you know more about him than I do. What was it? Tellez?
Rowdy Tellez.
Rowdy Tellez. So
yeah,
he loves
base.
him. But I'm all over Gurriel. I mean, he comes from pedigree. His dad, I don't think you knew this. His dad was an absolute stud Cuban player.
I know his brother's in the league.
Yep. Yuli's in the league.
Yuli had a great year last year.
Yep. Great year. There you go, bud. And his dad, get this, when his dad was in college, his dad outperformed Barry Bonds in it was like a college display league.
Really?
So yeah, so he was a stud. So Lourdes Gurriel Jr., I think we both agree, right? Stardom on the horizon for Lourdes.
Sure.
We both endorse Lourdes. This other guy, I'm gonna come out of the gate with this one. I love this guy. This guy is the kind of guy. He might not be a fantasy darling, but he's the kind of guy that makes my heart go pitter patter. And I call him a poor man's Jeff McNeil. And his name is Brian Reynolds. I love Brian Reynolds. The guy puts the bat on the ball, and I think he's just going to keep building off of that. What do you think?
Brian Reynolds. He came out of nowhere last year.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. I think he's pretty good. For you to put him in McNeil's territory is crazy.
Poor
me?
man. Poor man.
Okay.
Poor man.
Had a good year last year. Batted 314, 16 home runs, 68 RBIs. He was playing all over the field. You said right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like him. I'm not crazy about him.
Yeah.
You know, he'd have to show me more. He'd have to be doing the same thing again this year, and then he'd really be on my radar. So I'm not as into him as you are, but if he came around this year and put up similar numbers or even better, then yeah, absolutely. But because he had a great start last year, but
So-
I'm not completely sold.
So would it be fair to say that I could bid on him in our draft and you won't bid on him?
Probably. I mean,
All right, good.
What?
Good.
What?
No, that's it. That's all I need to know. That's good. That's it. All right. Next up, we're gonna go back to Toronto. We're gonna go Kevin Biggio. What's your take on Kevin?
See, I mean, he's got the last name to begin with. He's got a pretty good glove. He didn't blow up last year and do anything too much. I know he hit for the cycle, which was pretty
Yep,
cool.
I remember that.
But I like him. He might be a poor man's Jeff McNeil. He might not have the batting average right away, but he's got that utility, and he can hit. He can hit. It's in his blood. You like him?
No, I'm not big into Kevin.
Okay.
I'm not. I think he's gonna be a 240, 250 hitter. I like the stolen bases.
Yeah.
I really do. George misses Mark Reynolds. No, Brian Reynolds, Georgie. Brian Reynolds. Yeah,
Mark
Kevin,
Reynolds just retired.
He did. Yeah, George has been in mourning since that happened. Yeah, I don't think I think I see him more as a utility guy.
Okay,
long
that's
term
fair.
than I do see him sticking. Next guy up. Now, he has a kind of an established name, is Franmil Reyes. Lenny the Legend loves Franmil Reyes. He thinks he's going to lead the league in home runs. I think everyone thinks he's going to lead the league in home runs this year in Cleveland. I still don't know why San Diego unloaded him. I really don't. I mean, they unloaded him and Renfro. Like, they let go of a bunch of their power. I kind of get it, but I don't get it. I think
Yep.
And for the record, let this always be known. I think AJ Preller is the worst general manager in baseball in San Diego. I think he just shoots from the hip and just does what he's feeling in the moment, and he's not that great. So I don't. So what's your thoughts on Franmil? I mean, the power is real, right?
Oh,
But-
yeah. From what I see, I mean, people saying he could have a 50 bomb this year, just go crazy. But I mean, you're assuming that's why Cleveland traded for him. I think he could do it. Absolutely. I take the home runs over batting average all day. If he's gonna give you over 40 home runs and bat, 260.
Yeah.
Is that what he's batting? Kind of like
Yeah.
260 over 100 RBIs. Take that
I
all
think
day. especially-
I think he's been more in the 240s. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Honestly, it doesn't even matter. 240. I'll take 240. When you got a guy, when you have guys like Lindor and Jose Ramirez in front of you, you're gonna have guys on base all the time.
I don't know. He just everything we're saying reminds me of a little bit too Adam Dunn for me. Like, he's just okay. He hits for power. That's great. A one-trick pony. I mean,
yeah, but Adam Dunn batted more like close to the Mendoza line though, didn't he?
I mean, he had those years, but like early on in Cincinnati, he would hit 230, 240, like that kind of hitter. But anyway,
Yeah.
last guy I got here, start him or just dumb, Gavin Lux. It sounded earlier like you were on the Lux train.
I
But,
am. He's a little hedgehog. He's a little hedgehog, that
a
guy.
fire hydrant. You met him, didn't you?
I didn't meet him, but I saw him in person, and
You rubbed elbows, they said.
yeah, we
You
bumped
rubbed
into each other.
elbows. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Seems like a cool dude, but he's got the hype, and really, what's Corey Seager's deal? You know what I mean? That position's up for grabs.
Don't talk to me
My
about Corey
opinion.
Seager. I love Corey Seager. Get off of
yeah.
Corey Seager. Seager
He's
was
another
hurt.
one. I saw him at the same spot as Lux. I just
Yeah, but
I,
we're not
I,
talking
I, could,
about Corey Seager.
I could see Lux taking that spot, is what I'm saying, with no problem. I could
See,
see
I
it.
think,
he's a prospect.
like
a
I
top
said,
prospect.
like I said when George was on, I just see Lux being like the second coming of Gordon Beckham, and I'm personally burnt by Gordon Beckham because in my dynasty league, when Gordon Beckham had that half a year, I don't know if you remember, he had a half a year where he came up and he was absolutely thrashing it. I
Right.
traded for Gordon Beckham. Ask me who I gave up.
Who'd you give up?
Steven Strasburg.
Really? Wow.
I gave up Steven Strasburg right out of college because I had a minor league system for Gordon Beckham because I thought, okay, I got an established second baseman who's going to be a star for the next 10 years for a pitcher going into the minors who might get hurt. I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket. And what happened, boy?
That was a
Gordon
horrible call by you.
Gordon Beckham absolutely fell to nothing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oops.
Yeah, George, he was a prospect of some. Yeah, he was a prospect, and then
He
had
was
a
great
half-
at Georgia. He was great at Georgia.
Yeah, he was. I'm not saying, but he killed me. He had a half a year. I think he might have been dabbling. You know what I mean by dabbling, right? He was dabbling. He was a little beefy when he came up. Had some immediate success, and then nothing. So anyway, you like Lux?
I get the comparisons though. I get it.
All right. Second trivia question.
Absolutely, George. Absolutely, George.
Second trivia question. Quick one this time. Easy one. You should know it. Especially Vin. If you're there, tune in. Ready? 1986. Mookie Wilson hits the grounder between Buckner's legs, right? Shea goes crazy. Who was on deck?
Ooh.
Who was on deck? Who was due up next with Mookie?
I think my guess, I think I have it confused with who scored the run. I was going to say Ray Knight.
Ray Knight scored the run.
He scored the run, right? He wasn't on deck.
Paulie, you weren't even a glint.
Yeah.
When this happened. You weren't even a glint. So who was on the on deck circle when Mookie hit that ground? I'm gonna let that marinate for a hot second.
Can I take one more guess?
Yeah, sure, go for it. I mean, why don't we let the studio audience here take a shot and just see what they say before you I don't think you're gonna get it anyway.
I probably won't.
But
let them guess.
Yeah. But let's go into one more segment here while we let that sit. Is how do you approach a trade scenario? So like when you go to make a trade, Paulie, what's your thought process? And you know I say this tongue in cheek, right? Because you are literally the worst person to trade with. Paulie boy, whether you are in a fantasy baseball league with him or fantasy football league. Nope, Royals wasn't Dykstra. If you're in a fantasy baseball football league with Paulie, the deal has to be in his favor. Either the one that he offers out of the gate and the one that you think you're negotiating. At the end of the day, there is no fairness. And, Lenny was talking recently about George. You're absolutely right. He is the father-in-law to Jamie Lynn. His son, Cutter Kyle Dykstra.
Wow, really? I didn't know that.
Is married to of Sopranos fame. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, good for him.
Um,
So my approach to a trade scenario is what you're asking me, right? You're gonna stop bashing me now?
Well, it's awful. It literally is awful. Like
I make deals though, but I make deals regardless of how it goes down. I make deals. Doesn't matter.
You prey on the weak. There's a reason why you and I never make trades is because you try to. And in football, it might have happened a couple times, but absolutely not. Yes, Vin just crushed it.
That was gonna be my guess.
Was it?
Yeah, I promise.
So again, speaking of you not even being around, even though you're a Met fan, do you know how good? I was just talking to Anthony DiComo of New York Mets beat writers, a friend of mine, and we were talking about. Do you know how good Hojo was for the Mets?
Didn't he have 30 for 30 season?
He had three of them.
Three.
He had three 30-30 seasons, and get this.
I said 30 for 30, like the Sports Center thing.
He was
30.
four in I forget what year it was. Might have been 91 or something. He was 4 home runs away from being 40-40.
Wow.
I mean, he was legit. And Hojo is one of those guys that gets like totally
no credit,
dismissed.
right?
Oh, absolutely not. And I don't know, I don't know why, but he was a great Met for a good period of time.
Yeah.
But anyway, Paul, talk to me about trades. Go.
So
Good job,
we
Vin.
we made a trade once, you and I.
Yep.
We made a trade once. It was back in 2015. We were in I think it was just a mixed league. I'm not really too sure. There's a chance it was AL only. I don't know. Either way, I needed some pitching because I always go bats heavy. You needed a bat. We wound up agreeing on something that I didn't want to do because it wound up not being in my favor at the end of the day. I gave you David Price. No, I'm sorry. You gave me David Price and I gave you Nelson Cruz.
Which
At the time-
which doesn't sound. This is what 2015.
2015.
Doesn't sound like a bad trade.
Right. But
If you-
I remember it not working out for me. I remember Nelson Cruz just going crazy that year and hitting bombs nonstop. There he is. There's the
Say hi.
big guy.
Say hi, baby.
Hi, Noah.
Who's that? Playboy.
Bully boy.
All right, go watch.
Yeah. So that was one trade that we made. I'm not sure we've made a trade since then.
No, we won't either. We will. You and I, because not until you change your thought process
Right.
and go for fairness. Because
Right.
I'm going to take Lenny's advice because he said this morning. He said, "Ask the simple question: what does this trade do for me?" So I think I
Right.
have to ask that trade in the future. So just be prepared for those words that come out of my mouth.
That's
What
fine.
is this
That's
trade?
fine. And I'll probably give you an answer that you don't like.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it.
Well, that's
Yeah, just trying to get the best deal that you possibly could. I mean, to be honest, why do I as much as I got to give something up, I want to give up as less as possible. Just how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And that's my approach. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
but you should come out of the gate that way, and then the average person who wants to make a deal will start to even out a little bit. But Paulie Boy doesn't. Paulie Boy, the deal actually gets worse over time instead of better. But you know what? We'll move on from that. We have about 2 or 3 minutes left. I don't want to. I know Doug's on after us, so I don't want to keep it, Doug. I appreciated you saying that we can go on a little bit later, but I want to be conscientious and respectful of your time. My last question for us, Paulie, before we wrap this up is I want to know what player do you think this year is going to go from dud to stud? What guy do you think was absolutely worthless last year? I mean, went undrafted or was a dollar player and wasn't even great all year long, but you think this year is going to rise from the ashes and have a year?
So the one guy that I have in mind, I have a few guys in mind, but the one guy that just keeps kind of like picking at me, he's not going to go crazy and he's not going to hit 40 home runs or nothing like that, but he's going to give you 20 to 25 home runs. You're hoping this year is Jose Martinez with
Oh,
Tampa Bay Rays.
okay.
He switched leagues. He got out of a horrible situation for him in St. Louis because he can't play a position. The most he could play is first. Once they got Goldie in there, he had to go to the outfield. He was miserable out there. Tampa goes and snags him very low key. He has a DH all to himself. He could play a little first base. I think he may play there a little bit with I think they got G-Man Choi there, whatever his name is, and he could play there a little bit. But he's got DH all to himself there. He could go hit 300 like he was doing, a couple years back. Could hit 300, maybe 20 home runs. If he's batting like that, he could come away with the 100 RBIs. I think it would be a guy like him.
Yeah, you know what? And for the record, Paul and I didn't talk about this beforehand, but I actually like Jose Martinez a lot for the same reason. I'm happy you said him because I think St. Louis is going to wish they kept him, especially because I don't like their outfield. I get,
yeah.
and
They
I
just
get
don't have a spot for him.
and he's better suited for DH. You're right,
Right.
but like the St. Louis outfield is a mishmash. It's disgusting. But I think he's gonna. You're right. In Tampa, and something special happens in Tampa for some reason. Awful stadium, but for some reason they just come together. I think he's gonna be a key cog in that wheel. My guy from dud to stud is Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw, in Milwaukee, put together a small sample for a couple years of some solid 30 home run years. Played a bunch of different positions. Now he's in Toronto with that young nucleus. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I'm putting my
Mhm.
chips in on Travis Shaw, and
Wow.
that's what I'm going with, Paulie boy.
That's interesting. That's interesting because they have a lot of guys coming up or guys that he may be splitting time with, things like that. So, he'd have to really step up to the plate if he's gonna get a spot, if he's gonna take over first base or wherever else. Because he could play first, he could play second, he could play third, but you know, he's gotta really swing the bat if you think that if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, agreed. All right, here we go, Paulie. 9 o'clock on the button. All right.
Nice.
So hey,
Alrighty.
it was a great hour with my nephew. You're supposed to say it was a great hour with my Uncle Bob. Paulie, don't make me feed you all day long. Come on.
Oh, am I supposed to say that?
That's what you're supposed to say. We love
Yeah,
each
I had
other,
a-
remember?
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah,
used
the
to hold.
fantasy
I
fan.
used to change your diaper
While I was sucking my thumb.
while you were sucking your thumb.
All right. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Had a great time.
guys, chat room guys, thank you for staying on board. Royals, Vin, Andrea, Georgie, Doug, guys. Doug, you are after me. Dougie Fresh coming in right after.
Nice.
Fantasy fan with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Andrea. You guys are awesome, and we will see you soon. All right. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks,
Later.
guys.